Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of the Gridiron Podcast. My name is Nick.
And my name is Michael.
And we're going to be basically taking a deep dive into our thoughts about the NFL draft. So, Michael, if you want to start us off.
Yeah, Nick. So, to be honest, I guess we got to start with the first overall pick in Caleb Williams going to the Chicago Bears. Now, Nick, as both NFC North fans, except we're not Bears fans, I'm a Packer fan and you're a Lions fan.
Yep.
How do you think Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears will do this year?
I think it's going to take a lot of learning for him, kind of getting adjusted to the NFL speed of the game and everything like that. I mean, is he a good quarterback? Yes. Do I think he's going to change the Bears over a 2-3 years span? No, I really don't. I think when he has that pressure in the pocket, he kind of like goes into berserk mode where he just does whatever he wants, essentially.
Yeah, I think that Caleb Williams it's a very interesting difference in Justin Fields to Caleb Williams, because Justin Fields, the Chicago Bears and fans have been used to the scrambling outside the pocket for like these last few years and not really getting rid of the ball on time. And Caleb Williams is the opposite. He is a guy who's comfortable in the pocket and he goes through his reads very well. But like you said, going from college to NFL ball, it is just extremely different, extremely faster. So the thing for me is, will he be able to get the ball out in time, before a pass rusher gets to him? And to be honest, this is also my thought too, is I don't think the Chicago Bears addressed their offensive line problem. They did also draft later in the pick, the guy from Yale, seems to have a little bit of work to do, but I don't think they still have a clear center. So to me, like you said, I don't think right away this guy will be an ultimate star.
Right. I think, honestly, it comes down to the offensive line. If the offensive line can hold their own, which we've seen in this past year, the Bears' offensive line is just not there. We
absolutely
see, like with Justin Fields, he had to scramble out of the pocket a lot. Is Caleb Williams that type of quarterback? Not that I've seen.
I mean, he's decent on his feet. But, for me, once again, it's going to be him going through his reads. Is he able to get the time that he wants to as a rookie quarterback? And, this is also, a guy that they drafted, Rome Odunze. Will him and Rome be able to get on the same page quickly? And same thing with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. For me, going into the Rome pick, Nick, these wide receivers on paper look just absolutely like a threat. And for me, it's all about, can these guys stay healthy? Keenan Allen's a veteran wide receiver. He's been very injury prone. For me, it's just about, can these guys stay healthy?
Yeah, that's basically all they got to worry about, really, because they have one of the best rosters in the wide receiver room on paper, with Keenan Allen, with DJ Moore, with even Cole Kmet at tight end. And then you bring in a guy like DeAndre Swift as well, who can catch the ball out of the backfield. It's just about if these guys can stay healthy, because even when Swift was on Detroit, he was very injury prone, injured a lot of the time, even with when they had Jamal Williams as well. He had to take a lot of the load in Detroit. So can these guys stay healthy? I think that's going to be the ultimate question for the Chicago Bears roster.
Absolutely. I just want to throw this last point out there about Rome. For the Chicago Bears last year, they had a solidified wide receiver 1 and 2, but this pick solidifies the wide receiver 3 spot. And, as you said on paper, this is just a complete offense with DeAndre Swift in the backfield, like you said, and now Rome Odunze as the wide receiver 3. Completely, all up to the health of these guys. Can you guys stay healthy, as you said? But, Nick, I think this is going to be your expertise, but the How do you think the Detroit Lions are going to fare up against the Chicago Bears this coming year with their pick of Terrion Arnold?
Yeah, I think the Lions are going 2-0 against Chicago. I don't see Chicago beating Detroit. If they do, it'd be at Soldier Field. I do not see them beating Detroit at Ford Field, especially with how the noise is in Ford Field, especially after last year making it all the way to the NFC Championship game, re-signing Amon-Ra St. Brown, re-signing Penei Sewell, re-signing Jared Goff, getting the key aspects to their roster to come back, bringing back Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn. You have Dan Campbell, who might be the next coach of the year. He was definitely snubbed out of this past year, in my opinion, and I'm sure you probably are close to agreeing with me. Even as a Packers fan, you saw the turnaround in Detroit. Picking up a guy like Terrion Arnold, I mean, you heard me during the draft. I kept saying Arnold, 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 Arnold. I could care less about Cooper DeJean coming to Detroit. Kool-Aid, too injury prone. Terrion Arnold is a guy that was a bench player at Alabama for 3 years. As a senior, he was one of the best corners in the SEC.
I think that they definitely helped their secondary, which was much needed. Mm-hmm. I think that the Lions have always been known for having such a weak secondary. I don't know why. It just always is one of their problems over the years.
Yeah.
And I think this Arnold pick potentially has the ability to push them over that edge. Like you said, they went to the championship game last year. Will Arnold and, I'm going to mention Rakestraw as well, because I think that was another great draft pick. Will these two corners be able to finally solve that problem that the Lions have always had and push them over that edge?
I think with having a young roster, especially in the secondary, our secondary in Detroit has not been good since really Matt Patricia days with like Darius Slay and all those guys. Having a person, especially like Carlton Davis, coming in from Tampa Bay, who has won a Super Bowl, I would say probably carried Tom Brady to a ring. Having a guy like him, along with Terrion Arnold, Brian Branch, Ennis Rakestraw, Amik Roberson, you have Kirby Joseph, Ifeatu Melifonwu, having these guys, if they're all on the same page, which based on what I've seen in training camp, they're going to be a dangerous threat in the NFL.
Yeah, there is no doubt that this coming season, the Lions are definitely going to be up there, if not winning the division again, to be honest. But, Nick, since we're talking about all these NFL teams and we're both fans of our teams, how about you tell the fans a little giveaway that we're doing here?
Yeah, so as part of our first episode, we are giving away a NFL jersey of your choosing. It could be the player of your choosing, team as your choosing. The way to enter is you got to follow our Twitter, which is at GridironPodNFL. You got to retweet our tweet. You have to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You have to like the video, as well as comment in the comment section what team you are representing this NFL season. I'm representing the Lions. Michael,
I'm representing the Green Bay Packers, man. All the way, go Pack-O.
So that's the way to enter our giveaway. The giveaway will be announced. It is June 3rd, the day that this goes out. So it will be announced on June 17th when we release episode 3.
Absolutely. So excited to see who you guys are representing. And thank you guys so far for listening to the Gridiron Podcast.
All right. So the next team we are going to talk about, maybe the most controversial pick in the NFL made by the Atlanta Falcons.
You know, when we were watching this, Nick, we were both kind of trolling and literally saying, what if they take Michael Penix here?
Yeah.
What if they do? And we were both, our jaws dropped. Our jaws dropped. Couldn't believe our eyes, couldn't believe that they just announced Michael Penix Jr. going top 8 to the Atlanta Falcons, who, in my opinion, are building to win right now. And
Are they?
in the moment, I think so. In the moment, not with this draft pick, but in this moment, these 2 coming years, obviously signing Kirk Cousins, they are building to win some playoff games, if not go for the Super Bowl. So the Michael Penix pick, absolutely controversial. Nobody understood it. But, you know, after realizing and taking a step back, taking some time to digest that, I realized that maybe the Falcons are thinking ahead here. Well, obviously so. But they're thinking in a way that if they sign Kirk Cousins, they got 4 years on his contract, but 2 years are guaranteed $100 million, right?
Right.
So if they play with Kirk Cousins for 2 years, and let's say they do get deep in the playoffs, they won't have a top 10 pick, obviously. So maybe they are picking wisely at a talent that they see for the future that'll work. That's maybe their future player. Now, however, this is where my problem is. He's a top 8 pick. It's a top 8. You had guys like Dallas Turner there, or another cornerback that you could have.
You had Rome Odunze there,
right? And you know, you had so many other options to maybe build up what you have in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, left-handed quarterbacks getting drafted to the Atlanta Falcons by the name of Michael have not worked. we saw what happened with Michael Vick. But I mean, with Kirk Cousins being up there in age, with coming off of the injury last year, it could be a smart pick, but not at number 8, not a top 8 pick, because you have a guy that is already up there in age in Michael Penix. He will not touch the field realistically until he's 27 years old.
Right.
So they could have gotten somebody like, I don't know, naming like J.J. McCarthy, or if they really wanted a quarterback, maybe a Bo Nix, right, as a backup. But a Michael Penix Jr. with the top 8 pick when you just signed Kirk Cousins to 4 years, $280 million deal, it just doesn't seem like a smart pick for me.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. The comparison of what the Falcons did, you know, what the Packers did, you know, with Jordan Love. You know, the difference, though, is Jordan Love is a 26th pick. He's meant to sit. This is a top 8 guy going, which, you know, you expect your top 10 picks to, you know, play. That's what you expect them. And as you said, now Michael Penix has to sit behind Kirk Cousins for 2 years. And like you said, he's going to be 27. So now you have the situation of what kind of contract will he be on, all that stuff in the future years, and how will this come back to hurt them maybe this season or next season when you're trying to win a playoff game going to the Super Bowl.
Right. And to be completely honest with you, I don't think Michael Penix is truly ready for the NFL. I think he basically got a lot of help from Rome Odunze back when they were at Washington. Going into the whole aspect of Michael Penix, right? You have a guy that can win you football games. But once it starts getting deep into the playoffs, even to the Super Bowl maybe, can you really trust Michael Penix to lead you to a victory in that game?
I mean, I say it's hard for any rookie QB, or I say in that stretch, even a quarterback who's been sitting, you know, I'd say Jordan Love, you know, nobody really expected him to come into the league and be the guy who he was this season. But, you know, I just think in general, it is tough for a QB who has been sitting. We don't know his potential. We will never see it until a couple of years from now. So,
and kind of going on to Jordan Love. Sorry to cut you off a little bit. Jordan Love was brought up by a future Hall of Famer quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. Michael Penix is being brought up by Kirk Cousins.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers is here, maybe above the screen. Kirk Cousins is like here, maybe
For those of you
here.
who are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we're saying that Aaron Rodgers is milestones ahead of Kirk Cousins.
Yes.
Which is, just a fact at this point. But, Nick, I want to continue talking about the quarterback situation, but for another team. And that team is the Denver Broncos. Now, we know that the Denver Broncos aren't going to be anything special. They're not going to be, playoff worthy, but, they had a very interesting quarterback situation this offseason in going into the draft. Yes. They obviously traded Russell Wilson away. They traded Jerry Jeudy away. So they're rebuilding. Now, they draft Bo Nix. And to me, to be honest, that was pretty surprising. Bo Nix, I didn't think was a first-round worthy pick, but that's just me. Now, they did trade for Zach Wilson, and, there's not much hope. Zach Wilson kind of showed in New York. That was just abysmal. So, honestly, the interesting thing for me is this coming off season in the camps, there's some QB competition. Do you think, Nick, that we see Bo Nix this season at all?
I think so. I think maybe later towards the season, or later in the season.
Yeah, I agree.
Just with I don't think Zach Wilson is going to be starting every single game, especially when you have a high draft pick in picking a quarterback. Yes, Zach Wilson has experience in the NFL and Bo Nix doesn't. But does that really mean that the QB competition when it comes to training camp, Bo Nix is going to rise above him? I wouldn't put it past him. Yeah. So I do think we do see Bo Nix this season.
Yeah, I would definitely say, as you said, later on, I say a week, maybe 8 to 10 range. I mean, I don't think Zach Wilson's going to light it up. So I think we do see some Bo Nix action, which is going to be pretty interesting, in my opinion, compared to the other quarterbacks, just because he's, once again, a guy who likes to sit in the pocket, go through his reads. But, he wasn't he wasn't considered one of the top QBs to go, of course. So, correct. In my opinion, it's a very interesting situation in Denver with the QB situation. Will they be anything special? Probably not. But going on to this other team, Nick, that you and I are both very familiar with, the Minnesota Vikings. Also, in a QB situation, they got their QB, they got their guy in J.J. McCarthy. How do you think J.J. McCarthy will fit into Minnesota? Will he be
third string?
Third string, you say?
Third string.
I mean, well, he's going to be starting. No, they got Sam Darnold. There was another interesting QB situation.
I'll say this. Looking at the videos in training camp from the Minnesota Vikings, you have Darnold and, I forget his name. The guy that threw 4 picks against the Lions.
Oh, the guy that they drafted from BYU, I believe. I'm forgetting his name at the moment. Yeah, I know you're talking about that, yeah.
So they have them throwing together. You have J.J. McCarthy throwing to the rookies in the practice squad. And he's overthrowing, he's underthrowing, he's not hitting the targets properly. He just looks lost.
I mean, J.J. McCarthy, he's a guy who also likes to sit in the pocket, go through his reads. So he's also good on his feet, too. He can scramble outside the pocket, make a defender miss. He is good outside the pocket, too, on his feet. But as I said, he is a guy who likes to sit in the pocket for the most part. In his career at Michigan, 27-1, which is nuts. He does sit in the pocket a lot. And I wonder, what's going to happen during this Minnesota season. Will we see some J.J. McCarthy action, which will be, obviously postponed for the season. But I want to go into the other pick, Nick, which I think was very crucial for them. Trading up to the number 19 pick from the Jacksonville Jaguars and getting Dallas Turner.
Yes. See, Dallas Turner, we kept saying over and over and over in the draft, I mean, how is Dallas Turner still on the board? Dallas Turner is a type of guy that can shape a football team. He's the guy that can make the difference in terms
100%.
of any time he's on the field.
Yeah.
And the fact that 18 teams passed on him is kind of crazy.
Yeah, 100%. I was expecting him to go I thought top 10 originally, but then after I saw him not going top 10, I was like, surely top 15. He didn't go top 15, which it isn't like a red flag for me. It's just how the draft kind of went with everybody drafting offensive players. Like, it's just how the draft went. Dallas Turner's a guy who, he can close gaps. He's good changing directions. I mean, the guy he's going to be a menace in Minnesota, which is going to be very difficult for, a Packers offensive line, a Lions offensive line to go up against, I'm sure. Not saying everybody there is good, but Dallas Turner himself, I'm sure, will be a superstar in Minnesota.
Okay, sorry, I'm making for you guys listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, I'm kind of making a face at Mike right now because he said the Lions offensive line is going to have issues with Dallas Turner.
Well, I'm sure there will be some incidents.
Who will Dallas Turner be going up against?
Penei Sewell. I mean, I'm saying he will have some numbers that might, really wow the league. That's just what I'm saying.
And who's going to be standing right next to Penei? Kevin Ziegler? You ever heard of him?
No,
and who's right in the middle? Frank Ragnow?
The Lions' offensive line is stacked, 100%. I'm just saying, though, Dallas Turner on that defensive line for the Vikings will do a good job.
Yes.
He will do his part. That's all I'm saying. He'll hold his own. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I do agree with that. But with him going up against Penei Sewell and having Ziegler right next to him,
it will be difficult, 100% as a rookie.
Really, he'll have to line up on the other side against Decker and Glasgow to make
no doubt.
Really any sort of impact against the Lions, especially his rookie season, as you said.
Yeah, no doubt that as a rookie going up against those lines, it's not going to be easy, of course. Nick, this is a very interesting rumor on the offseason. That is Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk potentially being traded. Now, before the draft, there was still no news about them being confirmed, being them linked to any teams necessarily. But then again, going into the draft, the 49ers did lose a lot this offseason, but they draft Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver, which to me kind of links to the rumor that these guys might be traded soon. What do you think?
I think it does. I think at least with drafting him, you see at least one of those two guys leave. Personally, I think maybe Deebo goes because of the fact that now this is just social media speaking, but he unfollowed the 49ers on every single platform. So do we see Deebo leave? I think so with drafting a wide receiver. Brandon Ayuk, I think maybe one more year. I think if they don't pull out a Super Bowl win, he's gone.
I mean, the thing with Brandon Ayuk, though, right now is he is wanting a big contract. That's what he's wanting. And I don't know if the Niners are just simply not, giving him the money that he wants, or there's some sort of like negotiation problems they're having. But going back to Ricky Pearsall, the guy is decent. I mean, he does have hands. He can run routes pretty well. Like I said, his catching is unbelievable. But if I'm Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel, I'm not too thrilled about this because they're basically saying as an organization, we have a guy here who will replace you. If you don't want to, negotiate with us, or if you're not happy, then we'll replace you. So I wonder how this whole thing will kind of go on because they can still be traded after the draft.
Yeah, I mean, going into training camp, I do think we see one of those guys leave, whether it be just contract negotiations not working out, or getting just saying, I want to trade, I want out of here. Could
Yeah,
be
no,
one of the
I
two,
agree.
especially with how wide receiver contracts are kind of going up because of Amon-Ra St. Brown's contract that just came out about, what, a month and a half, 2 months ago. So I do think that wide receivers are looking for a little bit more money. And if these teams are just not willing to pay it, then they're not willing to pay it. So
Right.
I do think maybe one of them leaves this year, and then I think the other one leaves after next season.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be very interesting what this Niners team, this front office does with these two guys being unhappy. I'm not sure. I haven't really heard much about Debo, but I am interested to see how, if they do throw in Ricky, if what he'll do on the field. I am interested to see how he'll do out there, because they also did just re-sign Juwan Jennings, their wide
Yes.
receiver 3. So I am interested to see how he'll do out there. I'm sure they'll use him in many ways with how that team's coached. But going into another faster team, the Philadelphia Eagles, and
Probably the
these
best
guys,
draft of the entire draft.
these guys, last year we thought they were Super Bowl contenders again, and they just fell short.
Yeah.
So with this draft, I'll go into their first pick, Quinyon Mitchell. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that, but fast. The dude has speed like crazy. He can recover. His burst of speed is insane. I think he ran the fastest, was it 40-yard dash, if I'm not mistaken?
I think it was like either that or the 20-yard shuttle
Something
run.
like that. I forgot what it was exactly. But yeah, the dude is just crazy fast, and he's aggressive, and he fits well, in my opinion, to this faster Eagles team.
Yeah. I think they are trying to build on that speed. I think a lot of teams are trying to build on speed these days.
Yeah.
Do we think that this signing, or this draft, I would say, really cements them as a Super Bowl contender, or do we think that they kind of fall short again?
Well, I definitely think, just like the Lions, that the Eagles had a secondary issue. And I think that Mitchell just brings just a solidified cornerback. I don't know who's over there at Philadelphia at cornerback at the moment.
Slay.
I know they got, Slay, a few other guys over there I know of, but they're not like, that guy who you think of like a top 10 cornerback, right? So they do have secondary issues at the moment, and Mitchell just brings a whole nother, game to their secondary. And I think that him and I'm blanking on the second guy they drafted.
Cooper DeJean.
Yeah, Cooper DeJean. I think those guys definitely bring just another aspect to their secondary that it might push them over the edge. It might. I think it will. But this team obviously relies on Jalen Hurts in the offense. But I think those two secondary draft picks help them absolutely.
Okay, I could agree with that. I could definitely say like they're at least like contending for an NFC championship. I wouldn't say they're contending for a Super Bowl. I don't think that they're at that point yet, especially like these guys are young, right? These guys coming into the NFL, it's going to be a pace difference, right? Like you would have wide receivers like DK Metcalf. You have wide receivers like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams that can just book it down the field. You have Christian Watson. You have people like that. It's going to take a little time for these guys to actually kind of fit into the NFL, especially on a defensive scheme like the Philadelphia Eagles have.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Honestly, any draft pick, it's a whole difference going from college ball to NFL ball. And, you have guys like CJ Stroud who will come into the league and just absolutely carve it up, show off their first year.
I think it is based on the scheme that the team has. So I think, like you mentioned, CJ Stroud. I think the way that the offensive scheme in Houston was built, I think it fits CJ Stroud perfectly.
Yeah.
You have, going back to the Lions, I think the grittiness of the Lions defense fits Terrion Arnold, fits Ennis Rakestraw. It fits Vaki from Utah, the guy that can play offense and defense. He was drafted as a safety, but he can also be a running back.
Yeah, I think that
it depends on the scheme.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the scheme, Mitchell and DeJean will fit very well into the Eagles scheme. I think they will do fairly fine there. I'm excited to see what they do coming. I think they will play, definitely. I think we'll see a little bit.
I do think we'll see.
I think we do see them though for sure this coming season.
And thankfully, they're not in the NFC North.
Right, thank God. But we do have the Bears to worry about still. I'm not marking them out.
Yeah, I think kind of going into the NFC North, how we kind of had our predictions and everything, how we were talking about it. I think we see something quite similar with the Packers and the Lions being that 1-2 team. But I think it stays the same. I think besides for Chicago pulling out a couple more wins, beating out the Vikings, I think it goes Lions.
I guess we'll have to do a schedule, NFL schedule podcast, huh? That's going to be our next episode.
Yeah.
Since you're talking about it.
Yeah, but I think obviously Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, I do think that they fit well in the scheme of the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they just need a little bit more time.
Yeah, I know.
I think every rookie needs a little bit more time.
They need time.
I think there are those rookies, though, in this draft that you put them on any roster and they'll be really good. Malik Neighbors, for example. I think Malik Neighbors can fit into any scheme and do perfectly fine in.
Great things, yeah. Yeah.
So I think...
I 100% agree. I think, obviously with any player, really, it just takes time. Time to coach, time to build, and, we'll see how these rookies fare out this coming season. I think it'll be a very interesting season, to say the least, with how, these picks. Yeah, so, I think that really does it for me on this draft. Those were the key teams that was like, wow, they blew me away in this way. And we'll see how those rookies do this coming season.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see the NFL season play out. We'll be doing a couple of watch parties throughout the season. Obviously, Lions and Packers games. And if you guys want to see a Super Bowl watch party, just let us know. We'll be game for anything. But obviously, the Lions and Packers games, we'll be sitting down, watching the games.
That'll be something.
Throw a little trash talk.
Oh, that'll be something you don't want to miss. Because one of us that night is going to bed very upset.
Yeah, and I think both games is going to be both of us. I think I think they are splitting the series this year. I think it's 1-1 again.
One of us will get our revenge, hopefully, one way or another.
Depends on who wins at home.
Hopefully. But yeah, I think that does it for this episode of the Gridiron Podcast. I am super excited to start this with my co-host Nick, and go follow the Twitter. Like we said, it'll be in the description. And yeah, guys, we're going to be giving away a free jersey of your choosing, of your team, anybody. Like Nick said, all you have to do is go back in the middle of the video and watch.
Follow the Twitter, retweet the tweet, subscribe to our YouTube, like our video, comment your team that you are repping. And but yeah, we'll also be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That will be coming out a little bit after the actual video comes out, just with the way that uploading on Spotify and Apple Podcasts work. YouTube is a little bit easier. So, but yeah, thank you guys for
listening. Yeah.
Yep. And we'll see you guys next week on episode 2, where we talk about the NFL schedule, and we might throw a little trash talk in terms of the NFC North. Peace out, guys.